We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
There are only a few individuals in this world who've devoted their lives to the development of human flight, and today I'm on the lookout for one of them. I'm here in Buckinghamshire, England, outside the world's first purpose-built recirculating indoor skydiving wind tunnel, constructed 19 years ago. Formerly known as Air Kicks, this is iFLY Milton Keynes. Some say the birthplace of European indoor skydiving. I say the catalyst for growth for the most electrifying leisure and entertainment activity the world has ever seen. The man I'm looking for, over the last 2 decades, has performed just about every role within this business you can possibly imagine. But sadly, I won't find him here today, and it feels just fitting that a flight is required to locate him. Nos vemos luego. Taxi! What a disgusting flight. British Airways, man. They ran out of Dom Perignon. I had to settle for Veuve Clicquot. It's an absolute bloody disgrace. No wonder their NPS score's on its arse. Right, I'm gonna lodge a complaint. Where's my gaffer? There he is. Surprise, how we doing?
Not very good at the minute.
Surprise. A landmark birthday and a milestone, 20 odd years in this business. I think that's something we need to celebrate. So today, we're gonna revive a classic old TV show from the UK and the US. Simon Ward, this is your life. Simon Ward, born 9th of February,
No need to mention that. Just a couple of years ago.
Shut up. Born 9th of February, 1954. Died, that's right, I said died, on July the 6th, 2003. Well, almost. I'm not even joking, am I? You're lucky to be alive here today.
Well, some people call it lucky. I call it kind of unlucky. I think I know what you're referring to.
Which is?
Well, you said the 6th of July, which was a weekend skydiving. 19th jump of the day, of the weekend, 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. I'd landed on the drop zone, was walking off, the only person on the drop zone. And some lad with about 200 jumps decided, as he was learning swooping, that I would make an ideal target.
So he clattered you?
Broke my neck, 22 months off work.
So,
wasn't the best day.
And
they call that lucky.
I've actually managed to get footage of that particular incident.
So that will be off his helmet camera.
You know the footage I'm talking about?
I do.
Would you like to see it again?
Seen it a few times.
Would you guys all like to see it?
You probably
Brutal,
don't.
savage.
It is quite brutal.
It's not for the faint-hearted, but here it is. So, from the fun and thrills of the drop zone one day to the hospital bed the next. Tell us what you remember about that day.
Not a lot, actually. I was in and out of consciousness for quite a bit. I do know that the hospital, which was 25 miles away, takes about 3 minutes if you get the right drugs. And then it was just a lot of scanners day in, day out, or for that day. So yeah, it wasn't a great day.
I've heard you say in the past that you were fundraising in a neck brace, so would it be fair to say that the concept, the idea of opening a wind tunnel in the UK was formulated from the hospital room?
No, it had been formulated before that in February 23. We'd started to put it all together, and I was going to look after to chair the company and look after the fundraising. And that put it back quite a long way. I mean, I was off work for 22 months, but I was fundraising within about 3. And a friend of mine would drive me off to various meetings, and I'd sort of take the neck brace off. You know, trying to pitch an indoor skydiving business adventure and activity wearing a neck brace wasn't the best look, you know. So anyway, we got through it and raised the money.
Did the job?
So as we know, that incident occurred 21 years ago when you were 49 years of age, but I'd like to go back much, much further. So ladies and gentlemen, strap yourselves in as we travel.
You know this is a conference about learning things that
Shut
you
up.
can take.
We're going to go back
No heckling
much,
in the
much
corner.
further. Everybody strap yourselves in as we travel, not quite to a parallel universe, but way back in time to 1954. Now, for the mathematicians among you, you'll have figured out that Simon is now 70 years of age. Just a quick question. Who was around in 1954? Raise your hand if anybody here was alive in 1954.
Matt Ryan.
Savage. Savage.
Well, you've had a hard life then.
Tell us how you celebrated. How does it feel being 70 years of age?
Went to the pub.
To the pub?
Yeah, a couple of mates went to the pub, had a meal.
That was it?
Yeah.
Pretty low key?
Yep.
No wild celebrations? You are getting old.
I did go clubbing the other day and see Rudimental in Bali. Which
I
was
heard
quite
about
fun.
that, yeah, rudimental.
Yeah.
I can't picture you there, to be fair.
Nor could I, to be honest.
Oh, crikey. So, not long after the war, and that is the Second World War for the avoidance of any doubt, Barry and Caris Ward brought you their little bundle of joy into the world. Younger brother to Sarah, older brother to Anna. Here we can see a few pictures of you that show that you haven't changed that much. The one on the right is honestly uncanny. That just I can see it in the background, it's just you.
Well, I hope so.
Crazy. Yeah, I know, but... And am I right in saying that you were raised on a dairy farm?
I was raised on a dairy farm in Shakespeare country in Warwickshire, England.
And what was life back like then?
Yeah, good. It was great. I mean, it was pretty hard work. I mean, I was genuinely, put to work at a young age. We'd get the cows in at about age 5. There was plenty of animals around, as you can see. And we learned to drive a tractor early.
And it was on that farm that you developed a deep love of animals, in particular gorillas. A bit more on that one later on. But you actually showed a real affinity for horses and horse riding.
Yeah, we had a couple of ponies. So we were sort of born and bred on a pony, and we all rode.
What was the name of your first horse again?
Bimbo.
Bimbo, that was it. Well, again, I've managed to get some pictures of you soaring. See what I did there? Through the air. Pretty spectacular. And who's this we see on the right-hand side?
That's my sister. And Sarah, she was an international show jumper, so she would jump all over the world. The rest of us in the family, my other sister and I, weren't quite so good, but we did get to national standards, so we were competing.
Yeah, I spoke to Sarah very briefly, and she said that she had to work really, really, really hard to get to a competitive level, but you're just one of those annoying people that it seemed to come naturally to you. Is that correct?
I think she's probably being a bit modest, to be honest, that she was pretty good.
Well, congratulations, tremendous achievements there on horseback. Now, all of these riding achievements were while you were at school at a young age. And I want to delve a little bit deeper into your school life because, as I understand it, the school you went to was a bit famous, a bit special. It was called Gordonston. Here it is. Yeah. Now, this isn't your average everyday state school, and just to give you guys some context, this is the school I went to. Genuine picture of my school, that. Not quite as glamorous as yours. So some notable alumni at this school, Simon, some interesting pupils that went to the same school.
Yeah, we had a couple.
I'm going to put them up on screen.
Yeah, we don't talk about him. Oh, the other one we talk about.
So Prince Andrew
Yeah,
and King Charles III.
yeah, yeah.
So my question to you is this school doesn't strike me as the type of school that the wage of a dairy farmer can afford to send you to. How did you get in here?
My mum's cousin was a teacher at the school, and they also had a really good system of scholarships, bursaries, and a sort of sliding scale. So the very rich, like the well, maybe the royal family, would be normally paying a lot more than the dairy farmers. But I never got to the scholarship level, that's for sure.
Were you academic then? No?
No.
No? So university, what came next?
I didn't even qualify for university, I'm afraid. So I was not one of Britain's finest academics.
So what did come next then when you left school?
I went travelling, went around Europe and did a bit of DJing.
So you worked in radio after school?
Did a little bit of radio in Denmark the first time through. I was newsreading the English newsreading service on Danmarks Radio, which is a Danish service.
And my research tells me that you also got a role in sound engineering. And I have a picture here.
Yeah,
which
that was after I came back. I decided I better find a job and get a job in radio. So I worked in a few stations in the UK.
So this picture here shows clearly from your facial expression that you brought nothing but smiles, joy, rainbows and laughter to the lives of your work colleagues. You just don't look like you want to be there, to be honest.
I loved that job.
Did you?
Yeah, it's a good job. That was the recording studio of the station. We used to record albums there and put stuff together.
Very fresh.
So, yeah, we had a 32-track recording studio there and all kinds of stuff.
I want you to tell me what you think of when you hear this.
The October War should be the last war.
No more war, no more bloodshed.
Peace is the word, and the voice of peace is the station, 24 hours a day.
Kon Kol HaShalom. Yes, that was the Voice of Peace pirate radio station based in the Middle East, about 10k off Tel Aviv. And there was an Israeli fighter pilot called Abi Nathan who bought that old Dutch steamer, had it fitted out with a mast and transmitters, and we were basically a 24-hour-a-day rock station, apart from when Abi was on, and he'd be broadcasting peace to the Middle East. And you know how pertinent that is today. You know, incredible that after all that time, he was an amazing guy.
So being at sea, broadcasting on a pirate radio station, surely some interesting memories, any interesting stories perhaps that I may have heard in the past?
Yeah, we had a lot. You know, you can imagine that you're cooped up on a boat for 3 months, and you get to a lot of trouble. But yeah, we did have one trip which was quite memorable. The Suez Canal had just been opened up to Israeli seamen, so they could then go down the canal, whereas Israeli registered boats couldn't. So we thought this was a great idea because our boat was registered in Panama. So we thought this would be a great idea. What we're going to do is get a bunch of journalists, broadcast to the good people of Israel and say, hey, good people of Israel, bring us flowers and we'll take them to the good people of Egypt in a message of peace. And then we'll go sail down the Suez Canal. We got all these flowers coming up, everybody's boats would come up and people would come and wish us well, and a bunch of journos got on board. And we picked anchor. I mean, that thing had a cracked cylinder head and would hardly start. Anyway, we went off and we got to Port Said and got to the port authorities there, and we called them up on the radio and say, this is the MV Peace and we'd like to come and sail up your canal. We bring love and joy from the good people of Israel. They then kept us for 4 days in Port Said. After that, the flowers started rotting, and all the good intentions from the good people on the MV Peace were beginning to wane, and we decided to hightail it back and earn some more revenue to keep the boat going.
So Voice of Peace.
Yep.
What came next? Scandinavia?
Oh yes, that's right. So I decided, I'd worked a little bit in radio. I actually got fired from that job in Edinburgh.
Why?
Being late for work too many times. And it's not.
I'm keeping that up my sleeve.
And so then I went to the Voice of Peace, and then I met a bunch of Aussies on there, and I decided that the future of UK radio was really going to be more on the Australian model than the American model of commercial radio. The only problem was I hadn't got any money, so I decided I better go and earn some money. So I decided to go over to Scandinavia and work in the clubs for a couple of years. Well, I didn't know how long at the time, but yeah.
And it was in Scandinavia that this fella came along. Who's this?
Yeah, so this is the Funky Monkey. And there's a story to this that as a DJ, you could earn quite good money, but you would be working 6 to 8 hours in the clubs every, literally 6 or 7 nights a week, earning 300 or 400 kroner or whatever it was a night at the time. And I decided if I needed to get to Australia in a hurry, I had to find a way of earning more money. So the people who were earning more money were the cabaret artists who would go and do 2 20-minute shows in a club. There was only one small issue, and that was I had absolutely no talent for anything. So I had to think about it, and luckily my thinking's better than my talent, and I found a shop in Golders Green somewhere in London, and they knocked me up a couple of suits, and I would go do the Funky Monkey and literally turn up at a club, do 2 20-minute sessions, play a few stupid monkey records, a couple of lewd competitions, normally bananas involved, and off you'd go, probably 900 or 1,000 kroner richer, so I could get to Australia a lot quicker.
So my research tells me that it wasn't long after all of this monkeying around that you found yourself in Australia.
I did.
Also involved in radio, and you decided to make quite an unusual broadcast. But before you tell us about that broadcast, I'd like you to have a listen to this.
When we first met in 1978, my dad was teaching you to skydive, and your first jump broke all the rules by being a demo into water while doing a live broadcast.
And that is, of course, the voice of?
That's my better half, Jackie. And so her dad ran a drop zone, and he called me up. I used to do the mid-morning show, and he called me up and said, how'd you like to do an interview on parachuting? I said, sure, if you teach me. He said, that'll cost you $90. So I explained that the price of his interview had just gone up, and it was roughly $90. And anyway, we came to a very good arrangement, and the Premier's wife of Tasmania, which was the state we were in, always used to do a charity day every year. And this is way before tandem or charity skydiving or anything like that happened. So we decided to do it. So the radio station got me to sign all kind of waivers. One of the other guys decided he'd come and do it with me. And we literally did the first jump in a city into water on a demo, broadcasting on the way down.
Sounds pretty outrageous. Well, we got Jackie to say a few more words.
A lot has happened since that first skydive, and you did go on to do a few thousand more jumps. But it all stopped when you had your accident and broke your neck. It was traumatic for all of us, and my dad recently told me that the paramedics had inferred to him that you might not make it to the hospital. He's never told us that before. But you did make it to the hospital, and the thing I remember most about that period of time was your determination. Not a determination to recover, but a determination to fulfill that tunnel aim to get that first wind tunnel in England built. In fact, you asked for me to bring your laptop to the hospital so you could have a business meeting, which I was furious about. But that's you all over. You were more focused on getting that wind tunnel built than you were about your recovery. A lot has happened since that wind tunnel has been built, and you have been dedicated to the tunnel business ever since.
Tell us about Jackie.
I could tell you about that incident, which I will do. Yeah, she's amazing. She's been part of the reason that we built the tunnels in the first place. Behind every success, there's a whole team, and Jackie's number one in that team personally. So she's been fantastic throughout the whole period. But I do remember that time. It wasn't actually me that asked for the computer. It was the partner that I had at the time in the business. But Jackie turned up, and she had literally gone off to do a show. She's an artist, and she sells her stuff at this particular one, a flower show. And it was her day one setting up, and she got that call that everybody dreads. And I don't know, how many of you are skydivers, your parents or partners all dread that call. My mum always said the same. Anyway, she got that call, but luckily her dad was around and he just sprung into action. So she didn't turn up, that was on Sunday. She didn't turn up in the hospital till Tuesday, right, And then the minute she turned up, she started crying all over me. And I was flat out, and all I could do was see the ceiling, and a bunch of skydivers had put pictures up there because I was in a neck brace, couldn't move. And I had hypersensitivity, so I could feel your breath from this distance, and I still have the nerve damage today, so I get all this hypersensitivity. And all she did was start crying over me with tears dripping down on me, and there was writing all over me saying, "Do not touch." And so she, oh, geez. Anyway, she gave me a right bollocking.
Well, she is indeed an incredible woman, and I have to say she's got the patience of a saint, because you are so dedicated and so passionate about iFLY and indoor skydiving, and you're also really generous with your time in terms of coaching and mentoring other people, that it takes a pretty special person to be by your side and to support your ambitions and goals in the way that she has. So I'm going to ask everyone just to give a round of applause. She's not here, but a round of applause for Jackie. So let's move things along, because after that skydive you told us about, you went on to make many, many more, and the history books show us that you not only became an extremely accomplished skydiver, but also one of the world's best freefall photographers, and you built up quite an extensive collection of equipment, and we see a few bits and pieces here, proper old school. Now I've got a few questions, a few comments. It looks pretty heavy.
The one on the left is a 35mm camera. We'd use that for making film or TV commercials. The one in the middle, the two middle ones are just regular setups, videos, stills, flash. The one on this side, on the right as you're looking at it, that was at the World Team 357 in Thailand. I got 2 lenses kicked off on exit out of the Herc. And yeah, I was sponsored by Olympus on all that stuff as well.
So you obviously had a passion for filming, skydiving, aerial stunts, but not just filming them, but also performing and being the subject of some of those stunts, right?
Yeah, 1 or 2.
And I do just want to dwell on your skydiving career for just a little bit longer, because I've got a few more words from someone else that helped you get into the sport. So take a listen.
But I've been asked to say a few words about your illustrious skydiving career, which started with a world first, done exactly by the book, of course. But I think you may have either written or rewritten that book. You overachieved right through your student training, and very soon the student became the master. Even before your first jump, you taught me that business has to be good for both parties, or it's not good business. And that's something I've remembered and I try to use every day. As much as we believed the wind tunnel business would succeed, we believed more in your abilities. Friends for almost 50 years. And for most of that, you've been my best and most trusted friend.
Who was that?
That was John. That was Jackie's dad.
And how do you feel when you hear those words?
Oh, how do you always feel when your friend says something great? He's a great guy. Lives in Australia. Saw him a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, it's good.
What struck me about those comments was that you just can't help yourself, can you? You're giving business lessons to your father-in-law.
Well, I didn't think I was, but
do you ever stop? Clearly not. Now, both he and Jackie mentioned skydiving. We've seen you in all of your photography gear, but was it just skydiving that you got involved in? Any other?
Is there an end to your stitch up?
Come on, just go with it. Relax. You obviously took a lot of pictures and filmed a lot of
Yes.
skydives.
Yeah.
Any other kind of aerial photography that you got involved in?
Yeah, I used to do a lot of aviation stuff, powerboat stuff, inshore and offshore powerboating, normally helmet mounted stuff or point of view stuff. So it normally meant getting involved. And you know, skydiving led to a lot of that. You know, I met a lot of people through skydiving. I did a lot of skydiving footage, and you worked with those TV companies and film companies, and then you start working with them on other projects. So used to get into all kinds of things. And I worked with a couple of companies that had mega amounts of sponsors. So I've always been very close to sponsorship. And sponsorship's a two-way thing, so you have to be paying back. So we were always looking for stunts that could hit TV and hit the media big time.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned stunts, because Mariano and I have carted over a shed ton of some of your photographs, still photographs, and we're going to place those out at dinner later on for you guys to have a look at your leisure. There's some pretty wacky and wonderful photographs in there. Many of them you're the subject, many of them you're the man behind the camera, but almost all of those photographs carry an interesting story. And I thought it would be quite a bit of fun to play a game, which I'm going to call Picture This. Okay, I've taken a handful of your pictures, okay, and I'm going to place them up on screen. I need you to keep it short and sweet. You've got 7 seconds to tell us briefly about each one. Can you see okay?
I can.
Okay.
World record 24 stack still stands today, probably 20, 30 years ago, and we just chest mounted a camera. World's only triple tandem. Several have claimed it. 2 Kiwi girls on the front, and I waited till the chief instructor had gone away for the weekend. And world record bungee jump, 12,000 feet, and a guy called Ian Ashpole. We did that for Unipart balloons, hit all the press.
Next.
This will take more than 7 seconds. This is an Antonov we all walked out of after both engines quit at 400 or 500 feet. I would like you to know that the chief instructor of this drop zone was our very own head of safety, Mr. Wayne Loxton. What I would like to tell you though is that, you know, I can't imagine what it was like for Wayne. I know what it was like inside the plane, but I can't imagine what it was like for Wayne watching a plane full of 18 people going down behind the hedge at that angle. As you can see, it didn't survive very well. Literally 5 people of these really experienced jumpers gave up within months. I literally grabbed my camera, lined everybody up outside, took pictures, took film, sold it to the press. We had a good night that. World record again. This was an accident. The filters got stuck, but it seemed to work quite well. Another balloon thing for Unipart. I'm hanging at the end of a rope where I took off from, and Ian's on a trapeze. Did a trapeze act, and this was in the mountains of Switzerland. World record 357 way in Thailand back in 2001. Base jumping in Norway. I like to think I was base jumping for 25 years. I did 2 jumps off a suspension bridge in Bristol, and then 25 years later I went and did another couple in Norway.
So that's that.
So I say I was base jumping for 25 years.
That's you, not you taking the picture.
That's me. Okay. This was the practice for the Commonwealth Games that hit 3 billion audience. It was the first ever live broadcast. So I was wired up, mic'd up, commentating as well. This is Sony. We had another guy with a phone. It was the first live transmission from a computer sending email via a mobile phone in air. Whatever it takes. Formula One, we did the 1995, we did all the European Grand Prix for Sega, who sponsored Williams. I'm sure you worked out which one I am. World record baton pass. I'm the one upside down with the cameras passing the baton to the plane underneath. We actually made a triple eventually, and we also did a hand touch. That's a Commonwealth Games athlete called Chris Akabusi. We did a hand touch on that one. Anything for PR. Another way of I would stand on the rig at the top, just facing backwards, and take pictures.
Brilliant. Now, I know the last 3 or 4 pictures there that we've shared are not skydiving, wing walking. And that's deliberate, because we've one more thing to show before we round off. Picture this. Now, I know you're no stranger to TV, not only in terms of producing content, but also featuring. And I've managed to get my hands on a clip that I really wanted to share with the group. Any ideas which clip it might be?
You bet.
No. Clue?
Yeah.
It aired on ITV, which is one of the biggest terrestrial television stations in the UK, typically attracting 20 million viewers plus. You guys want to see this clip?
It's beautiful. These are 1940s Boeing Stearman biplanes. And today our challenger, Simon Ward, says that he can successfully transfer from one cockpit to another, travelling at an altitude of around 3,000 feet and moving at a speed of 90 miles an hour. Now, the gap between these two wingtips while he's airborne will be less than 3 feet wide. Simon will move from this cockpit here to this wingtip, over to this wingtip and onto the fuselage where he'll parachute to the ground. Now, we've challenged Simon to complete this transfer successfully in 2 minutes or less. His time will start when he leaves that cockpit there and will stop when he parachutes from here.
Bit of a wobble there as the planes climb into... that there's no contact between the wingtips. And he's got it! Five seconds, and that was close.
And this is your Don't Try This at Home UK Challengers medal.
Oh, thank you very much.
You earned it.
What's that?
Looks like Emmental cheese to me.
It's cheese, and it's a big cheese because back in the day you were quite a big cheese, weren't you? Because while all of these amazing stunts and incredible escapades were taking place, you were incredibly juggling it all with a career, and a demanding career as well, in commercial radio. So why don't you tell us about the time you were a proper big cheese in radio land?
Not much to say. We had a bunch of radio stations. We had about 45 local stations. If you remember, I said I went to Australia to learn, came back, worked in a bunch of stations, and we started putting stations together, and we built the biggest group in the UK. We created the biggest national radio station in the world, Classic FM. We developed digital radio, DAB radio, and then I moved over to this, but actually it's a very similar business.
I was just going to say, is there any transferable stuff?
Yeah, so radio, local radio and wind tunnel business is very similar. You tend to hire sort of 20-ish people. They turn over, 3 to 5 million kind of money normally, and they're both selling airtime. So we'd be selling 9 minutes of airtime, 18 minutes over here, whatever it might be, and various other things, and in various different ways, different products, whether it's promotion, sponsorship, airtime, and various other ancillary upsells and products. And you're selling perishable inventory, so all the dynamic pricing and yield management and all that stuff is exactly the same.
Lots of similarities there.
Yeah, loads. And the way we put the business together as well, putting loads of tunnels together, building a national, international network.
And I seem to recall you had another side hustle as well in skydiving?
I had a couple of side hustles, yeah. I had a mail order business before internet. We had a mail order, and I would be selling skydiving accessories, and I had a skydiving gear business as well.
So I just want to take us briefly back to some of those stunts and some of the TV work that you've done, because we're about to hear from someone who was quite closely involved with you in terms of some of that TV work. And they also remain prominently involved with you now during your time in the tunnel industry. Any idea whose voice this is?
I fondly remember the time you laying down on the net in the tunnel, taking pictures of a dog that you decided to fly until it shit itself. That look on your face when you realized how quickly that was going to travel around the tunnel. You hopped to your feet, dove out so fast, was very impressive.
And that's the voice of?
Rusty.
And what photo shoot is he referring to?
Well, Rusty and I did a lot of photo shoots, including jumping out of Hercs and things, but this was one that in Milton Keynes we got a journalist who decided that he wanted to fly his dog. I already owned a god dog. I was the godfather to a little dog, and we'd already flown the dog, so we knew dogs could fly. You know what they're like with their head out the window. Dogs love being in the air. So anyway, this journalist turned up with this dog called Sailor, and he'd been out shopping for Sailor, and he got his goggles, which are called doggles, and they have a little thing underneath, and it was a little terrier type thing, and we put Sailor in the tunnel. And yeah, Sailor did let one go, and I guess you could probably say that shit hit the fan that day. But the worst thing about it wasn't the deposit; it was the aroma that was left. A recirculating tunnel.
So Rusty has a message for you.
Hey Simon, I hope you're having a fantastic day and a wonderful trip. You know, I was just thinking the other day, it's been almost 28 years since we first met, running around skydiving centers and different events and projects that, you know, we were involved in. It's led us to working together here at iFLY and for a long, long time now. And I do remember some of the early conversations back in the office in Orlando, 2003, 2004 time, the first UK wind tunnel that SkyVenture was building, Air Kicks in Milton Keynes, and your name was obviously very prominent and getting bounced around a lot, and I thought to myself, Simon Ward, oh, what an absolute brilliant guy. It's been a great pleasure to work with you and learn from you. You've been a phenomenal mentor to me, and I'm sure many, many other people would agree. They've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from you, and you've been a fantastic friend for a long, long time. Sorry I can't be there with you today, celebrating all things Simon Ward. Unfortunately, well, I don't think Customs and Immigration would actually let me out of the country looking like this, but alas, I did go out and spend every penny that I had on the legend that is Simon Ward, his very first skydiving jumpsuit. So I'm going to model this for you today. I'm going to wear it all day in honor of you and drink a non-alcoholic beverage and continue to support you from afar. And I just wanted to, just send a shout out to say thank you for everything. Looking forward to many, many more years, friendship and working together. And congratulations on everything. Wish you all the best. Enjoy your day.
You tried to get Rusty to come to work?
Yeah, I did. I just thought the cheapest way of getting a lot of skill very quickly was to get Rusty, but unfortunately the head was not for turning. So, but we did start the apprentice program. We sent people over 3 months before we opened the tunnel. So by the time they came back in the UK, we were the only tunnel around, and we had people who were tenured and knew the way through.
And we heard Rusty there mention that your name was being bandied around the office in 2005. So let's skip forward to 2005. That was the year that Air Kicks in Milton Keynes first opened its doors. You saw me earlier on in the video there, standing outside the facility as it looks now, but this is how it looked back in the day. Tell us about the feeling of getting open and also this interesting look for the wind tunnel.
The planners in Milton Keynes thought they were very go-ahead and they should have this chainmail building that looked crap in the day, but actually it looked pretty good at night, lit up. The only thing was it cost an absolute fortune to light it, so we rarely ever lit it up. And we weren't allowed any signage on it either, so which we've since rectified. But that was 2005. We bought it in 2004, so the company's actually 20 years old.
And what about recruitment back in 2005? How was that?
Recruitment was a lot easier in 2005 than the gig economy that we have today. I'm sure we're all suffering on recruitment, and the way that people expect to be looked after today is very different from where it was in 2005. And it was a simpler process. HR's moved on a lot since then. But yeah, we had a few candidates.
A lot easier. So how about we hear from one of your early employment candidates? Should we do that? Okay, here we go.
May 2005. You interviewed me for a sales role in the soon-to-open Air Kicks wind tunnel. I walked away brimming with confidence. Nailed it, smashed it, the job's mine. And you did indeed offer me the job, but later confessed that you did so reluctantly because nobody else applied.
How brutal is that? That's genuine. Is it true? I want to get the truth now. Did anybody else apply for that job?
Well, you keep telling me that story. I remember something totally different, which was we interviewed you. You came in telling us about your role as a mailman. He was a postman, a mailman, mail delivery guy, and how you'd had this wonderful notion of reinventing the routes, which was so much more efficient. And you'd left your previous job as a salesperson, which was really just an order taker for DeWalt and Black & Decker. So you could say, selling out to the big supermarkets, the sheds, so you could, and you'd given up that role, become a mailman, so you could go off and skydive more. And you'd finish work at 9 o'clock every morning and could go skydiving. And you'd applied for this job. And Kevin and I, the other guy at the time, we looked at it and said, we didn't even know if you wanted the job. But anyway, you're still here.
But I'm still here, so I obviously did want the job. I did want the job. Now I was obviously...
And we struck lucky there, so thank you.
I was obviously an essential early influence on the success of Air Kicks. But there was also another early influential figure with whom you were deeply involved, not only in the early days, but also in the years after. So let's hear from them.
When I failed to convince you regarding the name of your first tunnel in Milton Keynes, I thought to myself, what a stubborn guy. Then, when I arrived for the commissioning and saw how masterfully integrated the branding was and how well it all worked together, I thought, I've got to get this stubborn guy inside the company doing marketing for all of us. In all my years of business, I've never met anyone who understands the art of mass persuasion as well as you.
Simon, that is the voice of?
Alan Metney.
And Alan is?
Original founder and CEO.
He mentioned there something about not being able to convince you about the name of the wind tunnel.
Yeah, so he wanted it to be called Skyventure, but there's a big TV company in the UK called Sky, and they had an arm called Sky Ventures, and they have way more lawyers than we did, and way deeper pockets. And we came up with Air Kicks, K-I-X at the end, and that really came alive in many different ways through the language we used with it and the branding we used with it, and so we were Air Kicks for the first 3 tunnels.
And would you agree with what he said, that you're the master of the art of mass persuasion?
Well, it's a lovely compliment. I don't think I'm quite at that level, but I'll take it.
And he also said that he wanted to get you inside the company. Was he successful in doing that?
Yeah, he bought the company. He bought Air Kicks office, and so all of our shareholders and all of our staff benefited from that. And then I invested into what is Skyventure at the time, iFLY now, and I became the smallest of the 3 partners alongside Riverwood and Alan.
And should we hear what else Alan had to say?
Sure.
Hey Simon, happy birthday, man. I only wish I could have been there to tell you that in person. Congratulations on all of your success this year and over the decades, both at iFLY and Air Kicks. I can't wait to see what you do next. Have an awesome day.
It looks like George Clooney.
Yeah, no, he's doing amazing things with his racing at the minute. Yeah.
So talk to us about the journey from initially working with Alan to get the first UK wind tunnels open to where we are now.
Yeah, we had a lot of people here part of that journey, and that was a great journey. I mean, back in the day, we all did everything. You all had 5 jobs, and yeah, there's a few of them. So literally, we did everything, and I can't remember what year it was. I think 2013 that we bought that. Then Matt joined us as our El Presidente, and so Matt came from actually through the Riverwood connection, because he'd worked with Michael Marks at Riverwood. And we decided, well, Alan had decided, he had a mission. We were going to build this company and sell this company, and that's exactly what we did. And we got it sold to KSL. Was it 2016 that we sold to KSL, and sold it very well? And you know, Alan was on a mission. We saw the history earlier when we were wandering through. You know, we went turbo in 2016. I mean, it was just amazing what everybody was doing. But we did it on a tiny staff, tiny corporate staff.
And you were living above Alan's garage for a while.
A while? I spent 2 years of my life over a period of probably 10 years living above Alan's garage.
Obviously at the start I mentioned that, you know, you'd performed just about every role within this business, and you touched on it there. It was a small team, so you had a lot of responsibilities. Anything on that list there that you particularly enjoyed or maybe didn't enjoy?
Well, I think Ali will be really happy that I never got involved in finance. But yeah, I kind of hedged off tunnel sales for as long as I could.
Why?
I love operations. I love doing stuff. I love being in the thick of whatever's going on. And tunnel sales is a long burn. I mean, we had sales that have taken 6-7 years to land, and it is a major sale.
But were you any good at it?
Well, we sold a few tunnels, and we built a good team, and you know, which is still going today. So yeah, I think we did all right, and you know, we ended up with a lot of competitors copying us too.
Well, we'll come to that later on actually, but first. A few years ago you shared your PC screensaver with me, and there you guys can see it. It details quite a number of the philosophies and beliefs you have, and with these in mind, and also the CV that we saw earlier on with such a broad range of experience, is there any advice or tips that you'd give to anybody just looking to improve their business acumen?
You know, like most people, I suffer from imposter syndrome, and you know, we all do, and I don't think I'm in any position to be handing out advice. But if people ask me what I'm reading and things like that, I have a thing called a reading list that I share a lot with people about podcasts, things I watch, TV, sort of TV channels and things that I do. And I do tend to have a few things, you know, I have a couple of sayings that are quite important to me. I often say to people, advice is cheap, but don't ever confuse that with cheap advice. And we've got a lot of people who can give us good advice, and if you're thinking of doing something stupid in a tunnel HR wise, you've got a great HR team, you go to them, you know, go and see lawyers, go and see experts and people like that, because it's way cheaper than what follows when you get it wrong. And then these ones, really, I've got a couple of things that I mean, I love the thing I've learned. So, you know, I've made a lot of mistakes. All of us have, and if we haven't made mistakes, we really need to start doing it, you know. And I've learned so much from mine that I'm thinking of making a few more, and trust me, I make them all the time. But the other two things that I really go with are be curious. You know, I love the Einstein thing that, you know, I have no special talent, makes me think of my gorilla days, but I am passionately curious. And the other one is be unreasonable. And there's only one way to say it. Most of the time when you say to people be unreasonable, they always take a look back. And you know, George Bernard Shaw said it best. You know, the reasonable man adapts himself to the world, i.e. you're compromising all the time. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. And therefore, all progress is through some kind of unreasonableness. You know, you have to stand up and go, no. You have to stand up and say, I'm going to do something different. And, you know, air cooks would never have happened without that. iFLY would never have happened without that. And I can't tell you how much I use that kind of expression. You know, big dreams start with small, unreasonable acts. Just think about it. That's the one I go with, really.
Well, while we're still talking business, we heard earlier on from myself and Manu about the increased level of competition. And working in industry for such a long time as you have, one of the factors will always be competition. Now, I certainly remember some pretty fierce competition back in the early days We had 24 miles away, Body Flight Bedford, a 16-foot wind tunnel that opened around the same time as us. And that must have been a bit of a blow to learn that they were opening.
That was a double blow actually, because they weren't going to open. It's an old converted spinner tunnel from the 50s, 16 foot, and uses more power for the chilling than the whole of our tunnels use. But they weren't going to go because they heard that we were starting. And then I had my accident and was laid up, so they went, we'll go for it, because it's obviously not going to happen anymore. And then they literally opened a month before us, something like that. But you know, there's nothing wrong with a bit of competition. It certainly kept us mean and lean, and you know, it certainly altered the face of the business for us. But bring it on, and we went and competed in, you know, open terms.
And we're still here. They're not.
They're not. They're long gone. Yeah.
And competition these days comes not only in the form of B2B, so other wind tunnel manufacturers, but also B2C, with the increase in the number of operators we're seeing. What do you make of the level of competition now compared to how it was in the early days?
Well, on the B2C, I think in the US we don't appreciate quite so much how much competition there is. You know, there's as many tunnels in Europe as in fact more than the whole of the US, and they're all carving their own furrow. Many of them are skydivers who don't care about a lot of the things that we care about. They have a different approach to things, and it's pretty difficult. And then on the B2B, you know, apart from Aerodium they're really just a bunch of people who've copied what we did. Without SkyVenture, there would be no tunnel industry at the moment. You're sure you may find a bit of a Body Flight and a bit of Aerodium, but it was, you know, was Alan and Bill Kitchen who made it accessible to everybody in safety. And then, you know, I've got to say in the last few years, you know, under Matt's guidance, you know, the additional work on safety, keeping our people safe and our customers and our team. You know, you can't fly 2 million people a year, which iFLY tunnels do, without that stuff.
And you've been around such a long time now. I'm sure you've crossed paths with a number of our competitors. So my question...
Don't we train some of them?
My question to you, what do you think the competition makes of you?
I don't know. I would hope there's a mutual respect there. You know, I've met up with them, I've flown with them, I've worked with them, I've sold against them. We have, as a company, we've sued some of them. You know, and that's challenging when you have to do that.
So tell me if you recognize this voice.
Many years ago, when I was first visiting Milton Keynes to see the air kicks, I met Simon first time, and before that meeting I heard a lot of mystical rumors about him being difficult to deal with. However, right after this meeting I felt that guy is not so bad.
That's the voice of?
That's Ivars from Aerodium, and he's a very interesting character.
And what's this, you know, you being a difficult guy?
Yeah, that's a reputation that seems to have happened from time to time. I don't know why. Maybe it's my unreasonableness.
Maybe. So let's hear what else Ivars had to say.
The time when I explored Simon the most and I truly understood him was actually the big meeting where we were all together, all operators and manufacturers in a meeting in Portugal, and in this meeting he became kind of my buddy. I was talking with him, I was walking with him, and because I found that he has a similar values, and it's very important actually that despite the fact that we are competitors, we share some values, and we hate cheaters. We appreciate hardworking people. We appreciate people with innovations, people who are trustworthy. And these are the values which really I evaluate a lot, and I believe Simon is the like-minded guy. So it is my big honor and pleasure to work in a world with such a great competitors like you guys. So have a good one, and Simon has contributed a lot to this industry. So I really appreciate your work, Simon.
Any thoughts on those comments?
Well, I think he's an amazing guy, and he's done a lot of innovative stuff. And you know, some people often talk about, you know, we all wish we'd done something else. You know, in life, we always think. And someone said to me the other day, said, "Don't worry about what other people have done. They all wish they'd done what you'd done." And it is amazing what we as individuals have all achieved. And EVARS has done a lot of stuff that of course I wish we'd done. They're amazing in show business, what their tunnels do. But they haven't done what we've done. So, you know, there's room for both of us everywhere. And he's done an amazing job.
I think it's certainly an accurate barometer of the person, whether it's sport or business, to hear what your competitor thinks about you or your competitors say about you, and clearly there's a lot of respect there between the competition and yourself. So Simon, covering 70 years in such a short space of time isn't easy.
It doesn't feel short.
But I have to say it has been fascinating spending this time with you. I really want to say that I appreciate you being such a good sport and opening up about your life. But before we move to the future, there's one more person that I'd like us to hear from.
2016, a weekend getaway with Simon and Jackie. We're heading out to a beautiful restaurant. The ladies are dressed to kill. And out comes Simon in a t-shirt and shorts, well worn true to form.
Come and join us on stage, Matt. Come and say a few more words.
Well, what can I say? What hasn't been said already? You know, I had as Simon alluded to, the privilege of joining iFLY in 2013. Now, I didn't come from a background of retail. I came out of the tech world. So, you know, when I joined the company, it was, I had very senior roles in previous companies, very, very large companies. But this was uncharted waters for me. And what I will be forever grateful is, you know, Simon's support, mentorship, and most importantly, friendship. You know, we became really, really good friends. And that's something that, you know, is very dear to me personally. And we've had an opportunity as friends to enjoy many things over the years. And, you know, that friendship extended beyond iFLY when I left in 2016. And with many work relationships, you know, when you step away from the job, we're in different continents, you kind of grow apart. But our friendship did not. We stayed in contact. And that friendship is really what got us here today. You know, when iFLY went through its challenging period, I was very much in contact with Simon. We talked about those challenges, and we were fortunate enough in 2020 to, you know, I would say really just save the organization, save the company. And it was with great pleasure that I got an opportunity to come back and lead this organization. So, Simon, friends forever. Really proud of everything you've done, and most importantly, proud to call you a friend.
Thanks, Matt. A rare hug. A rare hug. So, thank you, Matt. I was just about to ask you about your future and what the future holds. So what can you tell us?
Well, I will say that time that Matt talks about was fascinating, and I think I would tell the story of what happened there. KSL basically gave up on us. So for those of you who were around at the time, And I have to say, I was the CEO at the time. It had left Ali, Kevin, and myself talking to banks. And all of a sudden we'd gone from a fundraise to a point that we could have been put into bankruptcy at any moment, and same-store sales in the US were dipping. So we had to do a turnaround, and Chris looked after most of that and did a fantastic job pulling that up. And you remember Chris and Sean were working at the time pulling that up, and a lot of you were involved in that. And I'd moved to Austin. Turnaround was going well. Ali, myself, and Kevin were running the sale of the business. It was going really well. We owed the banks an awful lot of money. And then COVID hit. And all the offers that we had for the company literally didn't halve, didn't quarter, they went down to about 20% of what they were. And nobody had put us into bankruptcy at this point, which was testament to, I have to say again, Ali and Kevin, myself at the time, keeping fantastic relationships going with these banks. It got to the point, I thought, this is crazy. We should buy this. So I gave Matt and Michael a call. I said, Matt, it's time to come home. And Matt worked wonders with Michael and the other partner, and there's 4 directors of this company now instead of a big board like many companies have. The 2 of us from the executive and the 2 non-exec. Stuff gets done. I hope you've found that it gets done these days. But you asked me a question, and I owe you an answer. This is something I've been thinking about for a while. This will be my last conference. I've decided to go and do a few other things. I'll make an exit from the operations of this business. I'll be staying on as a part owner and a director alongside Matt. So I'm actually going to go off and do a few other things. And, you know, I just have to tell you, I just love this business. I mean, look at this passion in this business. This is just an amazing business. You know, when people say, what do you do outside of work? I obviously do other things outside of work, but, you know, I just love it. I just love the work. I mean, coming to work's a joy. I don't have hours. You just come to work. I just love it. So, yeah, sorry, I'm going off on one. So that's the answer to the question. You know, I can't thank everybody enough for sitting through, listening to some old guy talking, and then me. You know, we could have been doing something quite productive. I feel incredibly humbled that you'd spend all that time in research, talking to people. You've been an absolute pleasure to work with for those 20 odd years.
Likewise.
Likewise, Matt, you know, all those years, and everybody who I've known here for more than this conference, you know, I can't thank my team enough. I'm so proud of the international team, what they do. I'm so proud of the wider team. I'm so proud that I was CEO of this company for a while during a absolute turbulent time. I'm so proud of the top team that I've worked with, and you know, Ali and Kevin, but everybody else, and I won't mention everybody, but you know, it's for me to say thank you. It's been an absolute honor and a complete pleasure to work in this industry and to be part of it, and thank you. Thanks, guys.
I think so. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Don't rush it at the beginning, okay?
Okay. And you fucker! I've forgotten what the fuck. Okay, yeah, right. Was built. Fuck off. I'm on the lookout for one. Fuck you.